This is Live Bet Sunday on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Welcome back in, everybody. Another hour of Live Bet Sunday here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network, along with the great Will Hill. I'm Ben Wilson. We will be bringing in our guy Ed Egros coming up in 15 minutes. Excited to get Ed's take on Sunday Night Baseball. Does great work for FanDuel Sports Network West, as we have the LA Dodgers off of that shellacking at the hands of the Chicago Cubs last night. 17-0 that was. We'll talk about that here in about 15 minutes. In the meantime, we might have, if you were waiting on an opportunity to bet some Rory McIlroy live, you might have missed your boat, because he's now minus 1,000, Will, after rolling in a long birdie putt at 10. It's a 4-shot lead over Justin Rose, who's had a hell of a day. 5 under for Rose through 13 holes today. But Bryson DeChambeau, after the good early start, has not been able to get anything going. He's 9 under here through 10 holes, 1 over on the day. And it does feel like it's going to be about a 2-hour coronation here for McIlroy as he plays the back nine.
Yeah, we'll keep updating and keep checking in. But and that minus 1,100 now, that has come down, because as we were coming back from break, I just saw minus 1,400. And we also have another change. If you go to the DraftKings menu, win or without. So you can now bet who's playing for second, which is really all this tournament is looking like it's coming down to. Who's going to come in second place here. DeChambeau plus 130, Rose plus 250, Aubert plus 400, Reed 8-1, Connors 18-1. Which, look, give these books credit. They want your action. We want to bet. We want stuff to bet on. So if you build it, they will come. And now the fact that, all right, Rory's running away with it. Let's try to make this interesting. Who's coming in second? Let's bet on that. So that's something. If that interests you, you can jump in on that.
You think about it too. So Bryson is the favorite in that market, but he has to be so disappointed with how things have gone today. I mean, McIlroy has been the better player by far. I get that he's got a couple more holes than some of these other guys, but Bryson clearly has not been sharp today. And that to me is paying a tax. Like, you have Justin Rose, who's got a 1-shot lead in that market over DeChambeau. You can get him plus 250. He's birdied 3 straight holes. He still has the par 5 15th playing. I mean, he's been night and day from yesterday, Justin Rose, who's 5 under today. Ludvig Åberg, by the way, just made bogey on the par 3 12th after airmailing the green on the tee shot. Like, Rose is probably the bet to make there, and he's plus 260. He's probably the least sexy of the 3 guys that are offered, but that's actually not a bad bet to make if you wanted to go that direction.
Yep, I would agree. I would absolutely agree. And we're now at the point where this is all-time stuff. If he doesn't win this tournament, which, look, we've seen guys blow 5-6 shot leads in this tournament. This course can get you if you get a bad bounce here or there, but this looks like it will be Rory's tournament. We are back underway here. Clippers 60-58 as they get a putback dunk from Zubas, now lead by 4, 62-58. That's kind of the fulcrum game here in the West. Everything in the East is decided, and this Clippers-Warriors result will go a long way here to determining who's in the play-in and the seeding, and then we can start to break down some of those matchups. The East is, like I said, all set. It's been set since Friday, so not a ton of juice this final Sunday of the NBA season, which I think is somewhat fitting to the season. It hasn't been a great season from just storylines. I'm excited for the playoffs to get here. I'll put it that way. I love the playoffs. I'm excited for them to get here.
Yes. That is a great way to phrase it, Will, with how this season has gone. And we do have lines now out for the Eastern Conference, the play-in tournament games. We already have lines out as well for the 3, 6, and 4, 5 matchups because we know what those are. So we'll talk about those a little bit later in the show today. In the meantime, let's jump to Major League Baseball. Haven't touched on this in a while here. Sunday, there in MLB, as we've got the 4 late games still going, nothing between the Mets and the A's. So the beat goes on for the Mets, Will. I mean, it's like every single game, you're watching them hit balls right at guys. You get Sacramento, you get Luis Severino, who's not missing any bats to start the year. A bunch of runners on base, unable to scratch anything across here. Yet for all those struggles, I mean, the Mets still, they're above 500. They're figuring out ways to win because of the pitching so far. And it's sort of an interesting Mets team where we got so used to in the past, the Mets having to rely on the pitching. The hitting was always a weak point. And then the bullpen, you just could not really trust. And that's what ultimately ended up being their downfall. But this feels sustainable from the pitching this year, Will. And the hitting, it seems like a matter of time before things start to click. And I mean, how many years has this been in a row where Francisco Lindor hits like 190 in March and April, and then you look up at the end of the year and he's got all-star numbers. I wonder if we're destined for that same sort of trajectory this year for the Mets.
They'll be fine. I mean, they'll be fine. Soto hasn't done it yet. I think just top of my head, 1 homer, 4 RBIs, hitting 250, something like that. I mean, look, it's baseball. Guys have bad 40, 50 at bat sample sizes all the time. Soto, is it the pressure of the contract? Maybe. I mean, you can't say it's the New York thing because he was playing in New York last year. But anytime, look, you signed for $800 million, there's probably some tendency to try to prove yourself right, try to prove everyone right, grip the bat a little tighter, things like that. So Soto will be fine. I mean, he's not going to hit as many homers as he hit last year in Yankee Stadium, just the dimensions of the ballpark. Him and Judge were such a perfect combo, but Soto, it's like the last person in the world I'd ever worry about struggling. And you put him with Lindor and with Alonso, throwing Nimmo. That's going to be a big time offense. Vientos has struggled. We'll see. He's been up and down through his early career, but in general, I think that the Mets will be just fine. Bullpen's pretty good. Diaz, can be shaky at times, but to me, this is still, I don't know, 92, 93 wins, maybe a little more, maybe a little less. I think with the Braves' early struggle, it's probably a 2-team race with them in Philly, but they're a legitimate playoff team, and they'll be right there at the end.
In the meantime, the one game still to come, and again, we mentioned we'll get to Ed coming up with us here in about 10 minutes, Ed Egros from FanDuel Sports Network West. Anything for you tonight in Cubs and Dodgers, Will, after the absolute shellacking where I give you, by the way, Will, a ton of credit because you texted me after the Hiroki Sasaki, his second start, and you're like, dude, this guy is nothing special. Why are we losing our minds over him? And granted, he's been a little bit better since the shaky first 2 starts, but and it's not like the defense helped him yesterday against, in the start against the Cubs, but you end up being the starting pitcher in a game your team loses 17-0. So Sasaki, jury's still out. Numbers not horrible, but he's not exactly lighting the world on fire so far. So I give you a hat tip for the early pickup on that.
I was just bitter. I had I think over 3.5, over 4.5 strikeouts, and he had 2 in the first inning, but never made it out of the second inning. Threw a million pitches, so he settled down. He's pitched a little bit better, but we'll see. I ultimately think he'll be fine. He'll be effective, but we'll see long term if he's an ace, if he's just another like an above average pitcher. Time will tell. As far as this game, it's juiced now. I did play under 3.5. Colin Ray strikeouts. This is a guy I think you're pretty familiar with, having come from Milwaukee, where puts the ball in play, not going to miss a lot of bats, probably not going to work too much into this game, too deep into this game against a good Dodger team. So I think it'll be hard for him to get to 4 strikeouts. But now at -160, -170 or so, I'm not sure I'd play it. Did you have anything in this game? Do you have any angle for betting Cubs and Dodgers?
Yeah, certainly I understand why the market's going over here, and if 8.5 over would have been the only play. Now we're sitting 9 painted pretty much everywhere. Not one I'd want to get involved in. You're also on the run line here with the Dodgers with Tyler Glasnow. I mean, you're laying a price -115. I'm just not in the business of laying prices with run lines in general, Will, and especially at home too, trying to pay. Yes, exactly, and paying taxes on these lines that have moved so much. So yeah, I'm looking at the outs recorded. I'm pulling that up right now. I mean, and they're not even DraftKings, which is ridiculous. Like you have to offer a price on every player if you're going to do it in the first place. But that's one of the many issues we have with the sports books. They're not even offering a price on Colin Ray, which, I mean, I don't know about you. To see him get to, I mean, I'd probably set that at 15.5. Like it would stun me if he went more than 5 innings in the game there. So that would be one I'd love to look under, but it does not look like. I don't want to speak for every sports book, but at least at DK, we use them a lot just for looking at prop shopping and live odds and all that. They're not even letting you bet into the Colin Ray market, which is pretty ridiculous. DK, come on, just because the guy isn't any good doesn't mean you can't set a price. You could make it 12.5 if you wanted and try to entice some action on the over.
I would think they'd put that if they were going to make it, like in my sports book, at 14.5, something like that. So I don't think
probably fair.
At 15.5, you're expecting him to get it out in the 6th inning. That's asking a lot. I'd probably put that 13.5, 14.5, where maybe he gets through 5, maybe he doesn't, but I don't know. I'm sure a book would offer that somewhere, just like you said. Just because he's not good doesn't mean, unless they feel like they're just so terrified of getting beat to the information. It is odd, especially in a standalone game. All the NBA is going to be over. I mean, you're the only show in town now. This baseball game, I would assume would get a good handle. Masters will be over by the time this game starts. NBA's all set. College basketball's over. I mean, you're the only game in town. Hang up a line.
Yeah, I think part of it too is Ray. I mean, this is a former starter. He was a fifth starter with the Brewers, but he hasn't started. So Craig Counsell, as a manager, is very familiar with him. He hasn't started a game yet this year. So I think part of it is, how long is he even going to be stretched out? He's only thrown 5 and a third innings so far. That's why, normally I'd be looking and I'd go, okay, just look at his hits prop and go over. But I mean, it's 5.5. It's plus money to the over, but he might only be in there for 3 innings, and he might not look very good, but he might come out of the game. And it's minus 160 to the under on that.
I would look under. I don't know how long he's going to be around, 3-4 innings. So, yeah, I'd have to go back and look and get a feel for his pitch count here, which we'll do here during the break. But I would look under strikeouts and under hits. I don't think he's going to be around very long, especially, they're an analytic team. They don't want to turn the lineup over too much. He's just, hey, get through the lineup once, 1.5 times, and get him out of there. I would imagine the plan.
In the meantime, we'll talk about some of the betting splits on this game as well. Before it gets underway, Cubs-Dodgers on Sunday night. If you want to know where the money is really going, check out our betting splits right now as part of the VSiN Summer Special going on. For just $59 until August 1st, you can check out our splits from DraftKings and Circa. It gives you insight to where the sharp action is landing. Circa known for taking big bets from the pros, while DraftKings provides a broader market perspective. Go to vsin.com/subscribe. Our Summer Special available right now for just $59. By the way, Bryson DeChambeau finds the water on the par 4 11th. His Masters, which had already been taking a turn to the south, continues to get even worse. Justin Rose bogeys 14 to go to 9 under. So Rory McIlroy, who avoids the water on 11, he might win this tournament by 6 shots at the end of the day here, Will. It's been comprehensive from Rory McIlroy. Still a lot of betting angles to get to. We'll update you on the other side, as well as get into our Sunday Night Baseball preview. That continues next with Ed Egros from FanDuel Sports Network West right after this.
This is Live Bet Sunday on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
It is Live Bet Sunday rolling on. Not a lot of drama from Augusta National on this final round of the Masters, although Will Hill, Rory McIlroy, did just bogey number 11. However, he still has a 4-shot lead over Justin Rose, who is solo second right now. You can still bet Rose. You can get him in the winner without Rory markets at plus 350. That's a little enticing. Ludwig Oberg, Patrick Reed, 8 under. And Bryson DeChambeau. It was a fun ride there for about 2 holes, Will. But he doubles number 11 after putting his ball in the water left. And now, if you bet DeChambeau top 10, you're just in hang on for dear life mode, because here he is. He drops one more shot, and now you're into dead heat mode.
Yep, not much to add. This is going to be Rory's tournament. People were able to get their jokes in the first hole or two. Hey, if you don't blow it, if you blow it early, you can't blow it late. Well, that's Rory settled in and played very well here, and he's well on his way.
He certainly is. Well, while that is all going on, we've got a great Sunday Night Baseball game and some good things to talk about as far as teams on the West Coast, in particular the LA market. We go out to our progressive guest line right now. Welcome in our pal Ed Egros, who joins us, multitasking like all of us on this Masters Sunday. So great to see Ed from FanDuel Sports Network West. I will start, Ed, on what is presumed to be a big bounce back tonight here for the LA Dodgers. They get destroyed last night, 17-0 shutout at the hands of the Cubs. What do you make, first, before we kind of go to tonight, the Roki Sasaki storyline? It's been up and down to start. Where are you at after a very small sample size, but some good along with some bad to start out Sasaki's much ballyhooed and much hyped career with the Dodgers?
I think it's one of those things where you're going to have some natural growing pains. Like, I don't know how accurate it is, but apparently, like, the baseball might be a little bit different, going from, all the way from the Far East out to Los Angeles. And so it may be something where there is going to be some getting used to. But look, this is going to be a situation where you're dealing with a young arm. You have to have sort of tempered expectations. He's not going to necessarily come in and be the absolute ace for this rotation. There's going to be some growing pains. And so I don't necessarily think it's going to be, that big of a deal. He's going to kind of grow into his own. And look, there are going to be some opportunities with these next few series for him to kind of get into his own, get into, say, more comfortable, hitting situations. I think he's going to be just fine.
If we gave Dave Roberts truth serum and said, you know what, you're not in the World Series in October, or you didn't win the World Series, your downfall was what? What is the one weakness here Roberts and the Dodgers would be concerned about for what is such an obviously prolific, talented team?
It's the same thing that we've talked about pretty much every season for the Dodgers, sans last season, and that really is starting pitching. I mean, it's sort of the Clayton Kershaw effect, where for 162 games, you look fantastic, you look unbeatable, and then suddenly in October, things start to fall apart. And it's not necessarily just picking on him. I think it's just something you see with this starting rotation in general. They're always banged up. There's always sort of that one missing arm. And then you look at the matchups that they tend to face, say, like, with the Padres and the Diamondbacks, things like that. Sometimes those arms are just a little bit better. In fact, as you're looking at the National League West right now, yeah, I think the Dodgers could very well run away with this division. But would anyone be surprised if after 162 games we go, you know what? I think I like the Padres' arms just a little bit more. You know what? I think the Diamondbacks, the Giants' arms, like them just a little bit more. Wouldn't be surprised if that happens this year.
Yeah, Padres off to an amazing start, best record in Major League Baseball yet, as is the case based on what the odds makers believe in the Dodgers. Padres are still plus 750 to win the NL West. As far as tonight, Ed, you get this is a game that happens. This will probably happen about 120 times this year with the Dodgers, where they're just a giant favorite. You're having to lay a price if you bet them. Run line, Tyler Glasnow on the bump against Colin Ray and the Cubs. And we always will then ask the question, okay, what sort of angle can we at least find if there's any sort of value? What stands out to you about the specific matchup for tonight's game?
I think first off, when you're talking about the game itself, Tyler Glasnow, largely fastball, curveball pitcher, and those big curves often mean weak contact. And that's going to matter here because the Cubs have an average exit velo as a ball club. Now, they're very disciplined. They don't swing and miss at pitches outside the zone very much. So I think those setup pitches are going to have to be elite, or I wouldn't be surprised if he gets a quick hook. And speaking of quick hooks, I think Colin Ray is definitely going to have one of those. It's his first start. He is more of a long reliever. And so I almost, for the Cubs, kind of see this as a quasi bullpen kind of a game where I wouldn't see where I would expect a lot of those rested arms to come in. But those Dodger hitters, I mean, they're just unbelievable, right? And so at some point, one of those arms will implode, and I think the Dodgers will absolutely capitalize. And so I expect this game to have a lot of runs. I would go over the 8.5 total runs for the game. And then if you're asking me for, say, a player prop, I'm going to look at Mookie Betts here. I think he can get 2+ total bases here because he's batting second, and potentially with all of those relievers coming in for Chicago, one of them will probably throw a lot of four-seam fastballs, and that's where Mookie Betts is going to feast. He might be the best at hitting four-seamers on the ball club this season. It certainly can make a case for being in second place behind Shohei Ohtani, but to me, this is a great opportunity for Mookie Betts to shine.
As far as the MVP race, we talk about Ohtani through the prism of, well, he hits and he pitches, so it's going to be hard to beat him. Last fall, we thought maybe he could pitch in the postseason. I know that he looked good throwing. Here we are 2.5 weeks into the season. He hasn't pitched yet. When do you expect Ohtani to take the mound, and what has been the delay so far?
I think your guess is as good as mine as far as that's concerned. I wonder how much of this is going to come out of necessity. And, keep in mind that when you're dealing with Ohtani, there is sort of this delicate factor, right? Like as someone who watched him with the Angels for a long time, he's someone who, yes, it's like you pitch every sixth start, then every sixth day, things like that. Especially if he's coming off of injury, then the question is, okay, what is the capacity? What can he actually do? And how do you sort of fit that in the rotation? And that's not necessarily going to be a simple answer when you're also trying to incorporate a bunch of arms as well. And so what is the timeline at this point? I don't, have any better of a guess than anyone else. But I will say that, when he does come in, it's not going to be perhaps as frequently as we would like. But no doubt that when he does come in, he's still going to have the usual amazing stuff.
Ed Egros with us right now. It's Live Bet Sunday on our Progressive Guest Line. Give Ed a follow at Ed with Sports. Works as a sports betting analytics maven for FanDuel Sports Network West, which is the home for LA Angels baseball. And Ed, do you think about some of the individuals for the Angels this year? This might be a team that on the national stage is a little out of sight, out of mind, but at least in fantasy realms or daily player prop bets, I just picked up Kyron Paris, who's been the best second baseman in baseball. 5 homers, 5 stolen bases. He's been a fascinating story, and for a lot of folks that listen to us also in the fantasy realm, probably have noticed what he is doing. How sustainable do you believe his start has been for an Angels team that's got some pop in the young lineup?
They certainly do. And what was his secret? Like when you look at his AA numbers, there was nothing impressive about him. I mean, certainly he was highly touted, but when you look at what he performed, what he did in the minors, there was nothing there to say, yeah, he's going to come in and he's going to be gangbusters. I mean, there was nothing there. So he went to Aaron Judge's hitting coach, may have had like 5 words with him total, or at least, a substantial conversation. And now all of a sudden he's fantastic. And also let's not forget his base running as well. That definitely has a lot to do with the mystique, so to speak. At the same time, when you look at where the Angels are in terms of their hot start, they do need to rely on those younger guys to be able to sustain it. It's not going to be just about Mike Trout, obviously. It's got to be about, the Parises and the Logan O'Hoppies, who's also been fantastic. But when you put it all together, so far, this hitting has been pretty fantastic. 4th in barrel rate in Major League Baseball, 10th in hard hit rate. The base running has been fantastic. The questions really are going to be about, okay, they're not necessarily a young ball club per se, but will those youngsters make the typical young mistakes like plate discipline, defense, things like that? That is why I would be cautiously optimistic if you are an Angels backer. But Kyron Paris, what's not to like about him? And certainly there's some other Joe Adell's another one who stands out to me. There are a lot of youngsters who I feel like can at least sustain this Angels hot start and make things interesting for the full 162.
Who were you rooting for in the Masters? And do you have any bets here on Rory?
I do have a couple of bets on Rory, so I'm feeling comfortable about that. My Scotty Scheffler top 5, which is a tradition unlike any other for me, that's going to be a bit of a sweat down the stretch at last check. So I will be curious how that one turns out. But I did do kind of a super safe McIlroy, DeChambeau, after Friday's round, and so I'm feeling okay right now.
DeChambeau, another bogey, by the way, at 12. I mean, if you got DeChambeau top 10, you're going, oh my God, is this really going to lose after the way it's gone? Ed, we'll let you get back to enjoying the rest of the final round, even with the limited drama that we are seeing going on. But appreciate the time as always, sir, and great insights with us as always here on Live Bet Sunday.
Appreciate you guys.
Thanks, Ed.
How about this too, Will? The top 20 now is cut off at 3 under. So a couple of mover and shakers there that get there. Some guys into the clubhouse. Bubba Watson, 3 under. John Rahm, big Sunday at 69. Jordan Spieth, Tyrrell Hatton, Matt McCarty, Tom Hoagie, Colin Morikawa, your 3 unders. So if you had top 20s on those guys, you sneak in. After the break, we'll tell you about the guys who fell one shot short. It seems like we always have at least one guy, Will, who just finished outside the top 20. It's a tradition unlike any other as well. Here on Live Bet Sunday as we continue. They are finishing up Amen Corner. Rory McIlroy, 4-shot lead as he hits his tee shot on 13. We'll also continue to update you on Game 82 in the NBA. Get into some of our first round breakdowns right after this here on Live Bet Sunday.
This is Live Bet Sunday on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
We welcome you back. It is Live Bet Sunday. Not a whole lot of drama, though, to talk about at the Masters. Back with Will Hill. I'm Ben Wilson. Rory McIlroy, 3-shot lead over Justin Rose. We did talk about Rosie there, Will, as maybe a winner without market, as he was a winner without Rory type of bet. You could have got him in the plus 250 or so range a couple holes ago. He birdies 15, a big bounce back today for Justin Rose of 5 under, but looks to be too little too late. Rory playing the par 5 13th. And he can just play smart from here on out now that his main competition starting the day, Bryson DeChambeau, has totally fallen apart. DeChambeau on the day today, 4 over, and is now in a tie for 9th. So if you had Bryson top 10, you're hanging on by a thread. Rory lays up at the par 5 13th. And now it's really just kind of placement market sweat time for a lot of us. And, maybe these drafts, Calcutta's going on. Unfortunately for me, Will, I slept on the tied for the 54-hole lead in the pool I'm in. Probably not the same as Rory McIlroy sleeping on his 54-hole lead, but Shane Lowry for me has just totally tanked things. 6 over through 14 holes for Lowry. That is going to cost me a potential win and a nice payday. So shame on you, Shane. You were so good all week until the last 2 hours or so.
All right, a betting angle here. I'm pulling this up now. DraftKings has these live hole props. So for hole 14 for
Yes.
Rory, par minus 115, birdie or better minus 145, bogey or worse plus 550. You can do this for hole 14, 15, 16. would you start to think about playing some bogeys just with the thought process that maybe, remember, was it Scheffler who like 3 years ago took a million shots to win just because he knew he was just kind of tapping it in to eventually win the tournament? Do you worry that Rory will be extra conservative? Now, maybe that only applies to the whole 17 and 18, but is there a betting angle here where Rory's just ultra conservative, maybe bogeys in play, or any sort of angle here with these live hole props?
Yeah, the only one I would look at would probably be 18. That's where Scheffler, as you alluded to, Will, doubled when he won the Masters for the first time, and it's a situation where I would tread carefully at the same time because there's still some randomness. I mean, Rory's not going to just start hitting 6-iron off the tee and just playing it ultra conservative because. We should keep in mind here, Justin Rose just hit his tee shot on 16 to about 5 feet. Rose is now minus 225 in the winner without market.
Yeah.
And in the outright market, Rose is plus 300. I mean, Rose actually
Rory's
has
down to minus 300 now. Jeez.
He's back to minus 300. Yeah, and look, Rory's in fine shape. He laid up on the par 5 13th here, but Rose is about to get to 11 under. Remember, the 16th is where Rose 3-putted from about 5 feet yesterday, so he's got some skeletons on that hole. But if Rose makes that putt, he'd be 6 under today. There's an outside chance. 17 and 18 are as tough as it gets in closing holes of a major, but you get to 12 under, you post a number that at least will make McIlroy sweat a little bit here. So that actually has been a pretty big turn of events, Will, and that's why, especially for right now, I would hold off on any of the hole-by-hole stuff with Rory.
Is this now playable again on Rory at minus 300?
I'm stunned that it's come down that far.
Me too.
And the other leg, remember that parlay you gave out, Will, Minnesota Timberwolves. Rory McIlroy. Timberwolves, by the way, are now out to, they lead by 17 with 5 minutes to go in the game. So that second half,
these scores. Denver Rockets. Denver is up by, let's see, 25 on the road. The Warriors Clippers, the one game that matters, is close, but Lakers down 31 to Portland. I mean, this last day of the season, you could say this last week of the season or a couple weeks for the NBA season has just been a joke. It makes it really hard to bet. Look, I'm looking to bet as much as anybody, but man, it's tough. If you can be on the right side of these and who's motivated and who's not, I mean, have at it. But geez, it's basically like preseason basketball here. A lot of these
it is. It's ridiculous. I have the answer now, Will, as to why we had this drop so precipitously on McIlroy, because there's no way he should have been minus 300. Well, McIlroy just dumped his pitching wedge on the third shot. I mean, easy, perfect angle, and he leaves it short, hits the front bank, rolls back into the water, into Rays Creek, and now McIlroy is going to have to scramble to make bogey. So if Rose makes his birdie putt, we might be tied in like 5 minutes. This is crazy.
Still minus 300. That's why, I mean, if you're watching it on TV, and I've said this before, but it's worth repeating. If you're watching it on TV, I mean, you're getting what's already happened, I guess is the way to put it. Where if you're looking at the odds tell a story. Where if something goes from minus 1,400 to minus 300 for Rory, I mean, trouble is around the corner. So if you're watching this and basing your bets based on what you're watching, you're late to the party. So the odds are telling you in advance what's going to happen as opposed to just watching on CBS or whatever.
And what a huge mistake. I mean, it's one thing to, go for it in 2 and you come up short and now you can, now you try to get up and down for par, but to lay up, give yourself the perfect angle and then to blade it like that and to leave it short. Now you're scrambling for bogey. And this is McIlroy's for the second time on a par 5 this week, making a total mess out of it here. He doubled the 15th back in round 1. He's made 3 doubles. Those have been the 3 blemish holes for McIlroy all week. So he now tries to figure out what he wants to do. I'm sure over at Circa they're having a great time, at least getting some drama now as we approach the final few holes of the Masters. And as a reminder, with that, while we wait for McIlroy to prepare for his 5th shot here at the 13th. We do have an offer for you right now as Circa owner Derek Stevens is giving 15% off on all stays at Circa, the Golden Gate, and the D for our VSiN fans. Just use promo code VSiN15 to book your stay at circalasvegas.com. So check them out. That includes Circa, the D, and Golden Gate. I'm just stunned that was it's not like that was a tough iron shot, Will. That was perfectly positioned. You're talking about under 100 yards. You just put it on the back shelf take your 2-putt and get out of there and continue the coronation. And now this has all of a sudden become a sweat again for McIlroy and for his bettors by proxy.
Do you worry if you're Rory or if you're Rory better? Do you worry this starts to snowball?
Not yet. And so much of it has to do with the pressure that could have been put on him by Bryson DeChambeau. I mean, think about it. If DeChambeau was just even today, DeChambeau's even, and he's 10 under, McIlroy now is in a position where if he doesn't get up and down, it's a one-shot lead. Like, the Bryson factor here is super underrated because of the history between those two, the way Bryson was able to stun McIlroy thanks to a huge choke at Pinehurst last year in the U.S. Open. But a lot of this and you know, the gap here, and maybe it almost created a situation where McIlroy was a little too casual because he felt like he had it in the bag. And Justin Rose from out of nowhere, who was sort of viewed to have blown his chance yesterday with the 75, it's Rose who's got the best chance of anybody of actually catching him. So just crazy what's going on right now. And McIlroy now at least leaving a couple guys there. You know, at least I'd say it's Rose at this point. Oberg will at least have a chance at a birdie at 15 to get to 10 under. So, you know, it's not, especially if this is a double that's made. I mean, you probably feel like Rose is in it, and even Oberg, you probably go as far as to say if he puts together a couple good holes late at 11-1, he's not totally out of it if that's how it plays out.
I was just going to ask you, is Oberg dead here? As the odds shift again, and we are now down, Ben Wilson, to minus 225 for Rory.
Oh, geez.
Well, I mean, the highest I saw, I think, was minus 1,400. I mean, it was such a high line, and we should know this by now from betting golf, from just watching sports. Just because something's minus 1,400 doesn't mean it's a lot, especially in golf, man. Things can change so quickly. I had kind of gotten the feeling, and you did too, that this was over. This was a coronation, but I didn't see if it got any higher than minus 1,400, but it may have. That's just the highest price I had seen. Have you seen anything higher at any point?
Yeah, me too. We were looking at the same thing. So, 1,400 for me. Yes, and we're about to watch. Yeah, McIlroy does miss the bogey putt coming back. 11 under par for McIlroy, who has made – I mean, he's made 2 doubles today where it's just wild. And this is what golf can do to you. I mean, 2 doubles where McIlroy looked so bad. And outside of that, the other – 11 holes, McIlroy's looked great. He's been incredibly in control. He's looked so poised and like he's ready to take this tournament. He had a 4-shot lead, Will. He had a chance to be a 5-shot lead a couple holes ago. McIlroy misses this putt. Justin Rose is about to make his birdie at 16, and it goes down. So we're tied at 11 under apiece as McIlroy's putt burns the right edge. I mean, this is just nuts.
Oh, my goodness.
I mean, no way you could have seen this coming. Like, we thought, hey, Rose is not a bad bet for winner without McIlroy because you could have got, plus like 260. All of a sudden, Rose is actually live to win the tournament. He's right there.
Unbelievable. Cue JVT's music. JVT, I think, has him at a long number. So, I'm rooting for you. So one of you guys is going to win. But geez, what an emotional roller coaster. And just to clean things up, Rory minus 200, Rose plus 200, Oberg 10-1. Everyone else, starting with Scheffler, is at triple digits. So they're telling you right now, it is a 3-person race, 2-person race with Oberg on the outside looking in, but then a major steep drop off after those 3.
And now it's just hitting me too, Will. Like I mentally, I'm like, oh, this is over. We're good. This will be a nice coach job. Now it's hitting me that this is like a huge sweat here. Oh man, Sunday at the Masters, man. We haven't had drama the last couple of years in this final round. Well, we are getting it today. Tied with 5 holes to go as Rory goes to the 14th, Rose to the 17th. What a finish we have in store. We'll weave in some of our NBA playoff first round previews as well as we continue. But what a finish coming up next here on Live Bet Sunday.
This is Live Bet Sunday on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
We're back on Live Bet Sunday, Masters edition. And what went from at first a nice stroll in the park with my friend Will Hill has now all of a sudden become the sweat of a lifetime. Rory McIlroy, me, so many others. At the network too. I mean, I know Kelly Bidlin, Matt Brown, Wes Reynolds, all of our long shots triumvirate. They've got pieces of McIlroy trying to become the first player ever to make 4 doubles or worse and win the Masters. But McIlroy doubles 13 if you're just joining us, and maybe if you're in the car today on a Sunday, or even if you turned it off and thought the tournament was over. McIlroy minus 1,400 at one point, doubles 13. Now he's in the pine straw right on 14, and he's tied with Justin Rose, who was, I don't even remember what his odds were at Will at one point during the day today, because he was like 8 back after a 75 yesterday. But he has hit his drive just left into the rough on 17. But it's now a whole new tournament. Ludwig Oberg with a great chip on 15. He's got a look of about 7 feet for birdie to get to within 1 of McIlroy and Rose. And you've got 3 guys who are totally live here down the home stretch.
Yeah, it went from being a nice stroll in the park for you to basically you're in the park being chased by a dog trying to get away.
Yes.
This is certainly turned. Like you said, minus 165. Rose, the comeback there, plus 160. And then we are 8-1 Oberg, 6-1 Oberg, and Rory just goes to minus 140. And Rose just moves to plus 150. So, man, the movement with these odds is crazy. If I tell you that it moved to minus 140, what are you expecting to happen here? That drove that move another 25
cents. I'm watching Rory hoist it out of the pine straw. Looks pretty good in the air. I'm thinking he's on the green but a ways away, and he hits the front, the very front part of the green, and it rolls back off the front. So he will have that's not an easy up and down for McIlroy, and that's why the odds have shifted a little bit. Honestly, though, from where he was in the pine straw, that's a pretty good leave, all things considered.
Is that for par?
Have to go up or no, that's his third shot from there. So he's got that's a really tough, whether he tries to putt that or goes chip, maybe bumps it into the slope. That's a really tough up and down. But from where he was at, that's about all you could ask for from that position right now. Meanwhile, Justin Rose, I don't think he's got a clean path here to the hole on 17. He'll have to work this around the trees on a pretty aggressive draw, but he only has 136 in. So, wow, let the drama build. While that's happening, Will, just want to go to the NBA quick because we're winding things down. It's game 82, and we will, once these all go final, we'll let you know what the official seedings are in the Western Conference and let you know once any of the opening lines come out for the play-in tournament and the first round games. But we have the Clippers and Warriors. This is a game that will decide a lot as far as seeding. Clippers up 2 right now, it looks like, Will, with 6 minutes to go. I've not been watching this super closely. Although we did have that opportunity to get in on the Clippers live after they went down by 10 early on. You've been watching this a little more closely. I see the Clippers hit a 2 to go up by 4 right now, and they have a 4-point lead, laying 2.5 live with a chance to sow the number 5 seed if they can hang on and get the win today against the Warriors.
Yeah, and that would bump the Warriors to the 7 and make them not only you have to play the play, and you have to play. I mean, you lose the rest, you lose the time to prep, and then if you win, you play the Rockets, which you could say is an easier draw than the Lakers. It might be, but for an older team like the Warriors, I really need the rest if I'm them. I think it's an important game for both of them. I'm sitting here sweating out under 221.5. I felt dead, felt a little Rory-ish, where I felt dead, or the opposite of it, where the live total got up to like 230, and then they cooled off. It got down to like 217, 218. I said, all right, maybe I'm not dead. And this is going back and forth here. Live total now around 223 or so. So there's been a lot of good shot making. I just can't quite get in a position where I'm ahead here. And we'll see. Hopefully the stakes of the game, the intensity of the game, the pace slows down in this last 6 minutes or so. And I'm able to cash this as we are at 99.97. Clippers 2.5 point favorites on the live line, minus 160 on the money line, 225.5 for a live total. So if you had nothing, I'd probably still go back to the well and play under, just because this is a mini little playoff game here. And I think in the last 6 minutes in a 2-point game, the pace just naturally slows down. More intensity on defense, refs more likely to swallow the whistle. I think, barring overtime, we could see a low scoring final 5 minutes, but these teams have made more shots than I thought. It's been a little higher scoring than I thought coming into the game.
Couple updates here, then we'll get back to the Masters. McIlroy is chipping for his third shot on the 14th hole. We'll let you know how that chip goes, and it races about, can it get to the back slope? A little bit. It's about, it's coming back down, maybe 7-8 feet past the hole, so that's what McIlroy has left for par. Oberg just made birdie on 15 to get to within 1, so we'll get you some updates on where the live numbers are at, but games are coming final now. So Memphis, who was the only team out of the 30, whose win total was undecided, they go over on the final day of the season. Imagine having a 47.5 over ticket on the Grizzlies where you thought you were a lock. All of a sudden they fall apart. They fire the coach and they need to win on the final day of the season to get there. But they do win and cover as 1.5-point home dogs, 132-97 against the Dallas Mavericks. So that was a sweat and a half. Dallas is going to go to Sacramento, Will. They beat the Kings beat the Suns 109-98, but don't cover as 13.5-point favorites. Just a dismal season for the Suns comes to a merciful end. I lost on a win total over for Phoenix. So it will be Dallas at Sacramento. Good luck getting a feel for that one, Will. I got to think Sacramento's a pretty big favorite against the lifeless corpse of the Mavericks, but how can you really trust the Kings with what we've watched this year?
And I can't remember a season where you've had so many teams just total abject disaster. What happened to Phoenix and all the picks they owe and their roster and the age and everything is such a mess. Philly, what an absolute tire fire that is. And then Dallas, who they trade Luka and the disaster that is. I mean, you got three teams who, if you told these teams' fan bases in October, September, hey, this is the season in front of you, maybe Phoenix would have believed it with their age, their roster, but oh my goodness, just a complete mess for some of these teams.
It has been a complete mess, yes. And the Phoenix, Phoenix got off to a good start, and you were thinking, oh wow, all right, over 40, 47.5, I think I bet. I'm like, you're feeling pretty good about where you're at. So that game has gone finals. It'll be Sacramento hosting Dallas again. We'll let you know if it comes out in the next hour and 10 minutes while we're on the air. If we get an opening line, what that number is.
Couple things. Curry's tied it with a 3. We're at 103 all with 3 change left. And you can now get, if you look at Rory McIlroy's odds, a nice plus sign in front of them at plus 130. Rose plus 140. They are basically co-favorites with Aubert at plus 330. The Scheffler Hopes, who was like 60-1 a few minutes ago, down to 200-1. DeChambeau, 110-1. So this is officially a 3-person race, a 3-man race, and they are Rory plus 135, Rory plus 130, Rose plus 135. My goodness, what a last hour or so we're in for. Do you think this will finish by the time we get off the air?
I think I think Rory will play the 18th by the time we're off the air in an hour. Okay. But you can't rule out a playoff right now. So McIlroy, that was a good roll on that putt. He literally leaves it on the lip, misses the par putt. So that's now double and then bogey for McIlroy the last 2 holes. He was 14 under after the 10th hole. He had a 5-shot lead at one point, minus 1,400. He's now 10 under. He's now tied for second. Now Justin Rose is trying to get up and down on 17. So this is anything but straightforward here for Justin Rose as he plays on 17. Oberg now will be on 16, where we've seen a lot of guys with the Sunday pin placement get it close and have great looks for birdie on 16. So man, this will be a sweat. And if I forgot that, I also have the sweat on the Mets too, who are up 2-0 in the top of the 7th against the A's. But that sweat will go second on the order of operations here. Will, it's much bigger.
How about just a couple minutes ago, I'm sitting here saying bet these live hole props, maybe take bogey because he'll be conservative because he's got such a big lead. Well, the bogey's getting home, but not the reason we thought. Oh my goodness, what a wild swing this is.
Oppo.
Insane.
100%. While we wait for Justin Rose here to look at this par putt, a reminder about the new VSiN Watch app. If you're on the go and want to keep us in tune wherever you're at, you can watch and listen live on the VSiN Watch app now on the Apple App Store, Google Play Store. You also can check all of our segments that are available by replaying your favorite shows. You can get quick access to clips by sport and then big screen stream right to your smart TV. Download the VSiN Watch app today. All right, Justin Rose lining up a par putt here at 17. While we await that, other quick notes here from around the association, Will. So Denver does beat Houston 126-111. They cover as 6-point favorites. Denver is your 4 seed. They're locked in. Minnesota 116-105 over Utah. They do not cover as 23-point favorites. And how about the second half, Will? They were minus 11.5 for the second half, leading by 1, and they don't cover that by the hook.
Yeah, and that Rory Minnesota Timberwolves money line parlay, that bridge jumper. Hopefully, you did a good job talking people out of that. Put it that way.
That's one way to phrase it, yes. Rose for par on 17. What a big moment for Justin Rose as we continue our Masters in-game updates, and he pulls it left. We got a three-way tie at the top. This is unbelievable. What drama at Augusta. Our final hour of Live Bet Sunday starts right after this.